started. So, welcome to another AfrOtaku interview. I am your host, MGG, and I'm joined here by my co host.
Hey, what's going on? It's Jugger.
And we got another special guest on the podcast today. I actually kind of I wouldn't say met this guy because I haven't met him in person yet, but one of the Facebook groups I'm a part of, I think the name might have changed a bit, but it was like Black Manga Readers at the time, I feel like. Um, this guy was always like commenting. I think he's one of the admins as well for the group. And I just felt like he had some dope opinions on some of the manga that was there, and we read a lot of similar things. So I want to get him on the podcast and talk a little bit more about his interests. So I got Patrick on with us today. Patrick, you could tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, what you
All right,
do.
what's up? All right, what's up, everybody? Name Patrick Maxwell, and like they said, I do be on a couple Facebook groups as a admin, talking about manga and anime, just interacting with everybody. Trying to put different manga out there for people to read, discuss it with everybody, and things of that nature. So yeah, just a big manga fan.
I'll
All
bet.
right,
Okay.
all right.
All right, let's hop right into these questions. So, I mean, obviously, we all black here, but our journey into anime and manga is definitely different. So, I always like to just out of curiosity ask, like, what got you started? I'm assuming it was first like anime, then manga, but if it was all the way around, that's even cooler too. So,
I mean, I kind of had that, like, I think a normal start, like everybody doing anime and manga. Now,
uh,
back then, when I was watching stuff like DBZ and, Pokemon and all that, I ain't like know what anime and manga was. So it was pretty much a
Right.
cartoon. And then, like, years down the line, maybe like, I think like 2007, 2008. This was back when Blockbuster was still hot. One of my
yep,
friends, he wanted to go rent a game in PS2, and he wanted to rent whatever Naruto game was out for PS2 at the time. I think it was Ultimate Ninja Storm, one of those. And he was a Naruto fan, and I didn't really know much, but he was paying, so I was like, you can go ahead and get it. So we started playing, and I was like asking questions like, who is this character? La da 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 da. And he was like, you know what, you need to just watch the show. And this is when it was coming on Toonami, and I think I came at like a good time because I know they was having like a marathon, and like
Nice.
I think one weekend I just kind of just sat, watched like a good chunk of it, and this
mm,
was like this whole little anime phase. And then sometimes before like school and stuff, I would like randomly wake up like maybe 5 or something in the morning, and then I don't know if y'all know Case Closed,
yeah,
Detective Conan, I would
Yeah.
randomly pop
uh,
on, and I would like the show, and I was like, let me see what this is about. I typed it in, and a whole bunch of like episodes came on that I ain't never seen before, and I ended up binging that, and then I wanted to look like more into Naruto stuff, and then I randomly typed in like Naruto or whatever, and it took me to some website, and that's when I seen like the whole manga and anime thing, because it was talking
Mhm.
about like, oh, the manga is like here chapter maybe 300 and something or whatever. Then the episodes was like anime episode like 200 Shippuden. So I was like, what is this like manga stuff you're talking about? But I mean, I ended up spoiling a lot of Naruto for me because of that. And then I had to go back and reread to see what was going on. But yeah, I just randomly typed in Naruto on my computer one day, and I got like took to some manga. One thing led to another, and boom, just a manga fan after that.
Right.
all right, that's solid. Speaking of manga, you did tell us that you had your own book out there, so I want to give you some time to like share that with the audience. Tell us what it's about. So hopefully they'll buy it. I'll definitely include a link to it in the description of like the YouTube video, and probably like the podcast as well.
Yeah, I am working on like a manga or comic, however you want to call it. It's called So-Called Hero. And if I had to like pick, I would say it's a combination of like X-Men and just like maybe One Piece, and you got some comedy stuff in there, like
In
a
One
bunch
Piece,
of
you
other.
got some world
Yeah, that's
building
what.
going on in there,
Yeah,
huh?
that's
Yeah,
the
I ain't gonna
plan.
lie, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on it for like years. I'm always kind of just learning because I'm always looking at different series and stuff like that, and kind of thinking of ways to maybe implement that into my story. I'm also working with on that, like with a friend. I always run ideas by him and stuff like that. Like, do you think this is a good idea? Should we do this, take this character out, and he'll help me out with chapters. And so I want to give a shout out to him for kind of like being the backbone and everything. And
Yeah.
the way we did it now, I got the first book on like Amazon KDP. If people want to check it out, and hopefully down the line I do want to write a little bit more for the story because I'm trying to break it down. I don't know if y'all familiar with like Game of Thrones. They got their
Yep.
different books out.
Sure.
Harry Potter, they got their different books out. So I thought that was gonna be like the best way to do it. Just kind of break it down into little parts like that. I had intentions on making it like a comic or a drawing or whatever, but my my drawing is it's not the best for like manga or whatever. You can't be everybody can't be like One Piece. I mean One Punch Man with the scribbles, whatever, and make it. So after like kind of going through like seeing if people could help draw it out, I kind of just couldn't find nobody. So I was like, let me just go ahead and do it out here, do it this way because I still want to get my story out there for people to see. And maybe in due time, something happens, someone want to animate it or whatever, I'll be happy with that. The main thing I just wanted to kind of get the story out. So, yep, So-Called Heroes. Book one is on Amazon KDP. $3 if you want to check it out, and hopefully, in the future, I try to move it on to other what's it, ebooks or self-publishing sites.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely check it out. You said One Piece and X-Men.
Yeah,
That's already got my
Yeah,
interest peaked. So,
same here.
well, all right. Also, um, I guess I want to skip straight to the JoJo type of question, anyways.
okay.
Some of the other ones are interesting, but I like this one more. So, we know you're a JoJo's fan. You told me earlier, which is why I put this question in here. So, if you could create your own stand for you, what would the powers be? Um, like, like what attributes would this stand have? What would the name be? You know, the typical stand stuff for JoJo's. I'm curious as to what you would make.
I think, well, I don't know. Whenever I'm always trying to create like people on like video games, I'm always at I want to be that basic, that jack of all trades type dude that's like strong, fast, got all that defense and stuff like that. So I think ideally I would kind of want something like, Star Platinum. You want that close range stand that's fast, strong. I'll be thinking of them like automatic stands and long range ones. Like I don't really want none of them. Some of them are cool, but I
Yeah.
want something like kind of close range or whatever. And for my stand name, I always because I'm like a huge big Michael Jackson fan. I was always thinking of something maybe Smooth Criminal or something.
That actually be cool. I thought you was gonna
I
say
did.
like beat it.
Yeah,
Snaps.
beat it actually work now that you brought it up, especially if you talking about
No, I think Smooth Criminal
make that
sound
change.
colder though.
Yeah,
True.
beat it
have
sound
you
good, but
have you watched Demon Slayer yet or read it?
yeah, I read Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is awesome.
Does Muzan still look like? Because I haven't jumped to the manga yet. I just finished up the anime. Is Muzan still similar to Michael Jackson in the manga, or
Yeah, he is from what we last seen. He does like make his little bodily changes and stuff like that. But I do think
yeah,
his
yeah,
main form is like Michael Jackson. Is funny because I made in one of the groups I talked about that's really how I got into Demon Slayer because I seen a picture of him. I was like, oh, dude like Michael, and I wonder if he good or bad. And
yeah.
yeah, obviously he bad, but that's what got me into the show.
Right.
Snap.
Yeah, when I had seen him showing up, I was like, yeah, he had the same like smooth criminal fit and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And it was just like the shit he pulled out in that episode was solid. So yeah.
telling you,
Demon
he
Slayer
writes
is
him too
definitely
smooth.
good.
Yeah. Jugga, did you have any questions you want to add or
I was actually a little curious if we wanted to get into. So you said like your first like anime kind of scenario that actually got you started was like DBZ, and then you first started to look into Naruto. Like, have you all like is your preferences in manga anime kind of like that shonen action adventure kind of like exciting? Like big world building and like fight scenes, or do you diverse into any other genres of manga or anime?
Honestly, I do. I think my main thing is I do like that shonen, Naruto, DBZ, and stuff like that. But a lot of times, there might be just some random stuff that kind of just catches my eye. Like I do read sports. There are some like slice of life series that I do like. I don't know if y'all familiar with it. I do talk about it a lot. But there's a manga called Beastars, and if I had to like say what it's basically like Zootopia, but it was like a manga, and I think the writing for that is like just downright amazing. It's not something I would say I would normally read. It was just something I came across and like
Hmm.
fell in love with it. And so yeah, I think I am kind of diverse. I'm open to looking at a whole bunch of different series, shonen, seinen, sports,
Okay.
slice of life. I mean, there are some I don't really care for, and try to stay away from. But for the most part, I do try to be open minded when it comes to manga because I have found a lot of just a lot of different series. Like for example, um there's two. I mean, they're different, but they're kind of follow the same thing. Goblin Slayer, and there's another one called
Hey.
yeah.
Jimeshi. And normally, I don't really care for that whole fantasy thing, like the goblins, the
Yeah.
elves, and all that Lord of the Rings stuff. But the way they present it in
Yeah,
both of those series, it makes it interesting to like kind of see and check out.
Mhm.
I
without a
haven't
doubt.
like read I haven't checked out like Lord of the Rings or nothing, but yeah, stuff like that. It does make it just seem interesting. Then so yeah, I'm always open to different stuff.
What was that other one that you mentioned besides
It's
Goblin
called
Slayer?
Dungeon Meshi. It's basically
Mm.
they got goblins and dwarves and stuff like that, but the whole premise is different. It's like a comedy pretty much. Dude is trying to go in a dungeon and save his sister. I mean, it don't sound like a comedy like that, but
Right.
yeah. So,
This way you gotta read it. Yeah. I feel you. Okay. I might get that one a look because Goblin Slayer is a big one for us. We all
Oh
we
yeah,
watched it.
Goblin.
We were holding off on getting into the manga because we wanted to like watch it for some more episodes, but it took.
are they
I'm about to get into it because it's taking too long.
making another season for that?
You said what?
Are they making another season for that? Because I haven't heard
What?
anything.
I haven't heard any news about another season, but maybe it's just me. But I felt like the hype was around it enough that I could see again the second season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my
Like,
thing is too, like with Goblin Slayer, I feel like a lot of people was put off by that, first episode. Obviously,
oh
we know
yeah,
what happened in that, but like, other than that, it's like I think it's like really good storytelling. Like Goblin Slayer, he killed goblins, but he's smart. He
right.
Right.
tactical and stuff like that. He got a party that go with him, like the elves and the dwarves and stuff, and they make a really good cast together. And it's one of those things that kind of like it kind of annoy you because it's a good series, but so many people put it off
Yeah.
for like just little stuff like that.
Mhm.
Right. No, I
Yeah.
mean Goblin Slayer is definitely not for kids. Like I actually think
So
like F1 put me off a little bit too because I was like, oh snap! Like I was ready for like a basic shonen, right? But at the same time, like F1 was fitting because of how real Goblin Slayer was. It's like you do see these goblins literally be clapping cheeks. Like we got to stop these kids now.
Right.
yes, you
And
do.
it, like
Yeah,
it kind of like set the mood for the entire anime. Like I don't know. I was impressed during like all of Goblin Slayer. He kept it so legit 24/7. He was only about Goblin. Like that was it. Goblin. Goblin. You talking about? Oh, so it's not Goblin. Get out of my face. Like, I mean, it was just like fantastic to me. But no, what you're talking about, Daija Meshi, if it's anything close to that, or even like have like that slight feel, I definitely want to check that out too.
Yeah, I think there's actually because you got so many manga, you got a lot of I think hidden gems out there that I think people need to dive into more than like. I'm not gonna lie, I do like that. I like the popular stuff, and I'll talk about it. But I feel like there's just so much more out there for people to see.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's how I feel about Chainsaw Man. I feel like
Oh no,
Chainsaw Man is one
Chainsaw
of
Man
those
is
too.
amazing.
Yeah, people are
I know
sleeping on
once,
that one.
yeah, I know once that get like animated, I think that's gonna get a little following too,
Right.
because I think that got like that whole dark, gritty feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it got such a funny take on it. That's what I
Right.
like. Like Goblin Slayer was just dark and it just stayed there. It was like Goblin Slayer level dark sometimes, but it was still like find a way to make you laugh, like in the next chapter. I'd just
Oh
be
yeah.
like, what? Like, okay.
Now, have y'all heard of a series called Fire Punch? I have.
Yeah. I read Fire Punch before because I
Uh,
heard about the author correlation.
yeah, that's the only thing that kind of worried me about Chainsaw Man. I just don't know if I'm gonna just be depressed when I finish that series. It already seemed like it's heading
Right.
that route. I don't know
Yeah.
if he got to change of heart or whatever in between Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man. But
Yeah.
yeah, after reading Fire Punch, I don't know what to expect in
But I feel
Chainsaw
like
Man.
Chainsaw Man gives me like the shonen version of Fire Punch because Fire Punch like it didn't have any like up point. It just was like taking you on a journey wherever it felt like taking you. Like the crazy twist in there, like the sister, the cannibalism, like
Yeah,
all of that stuff. It was just like dark, and I that's what I expected out of Chainsaw Man. But um, I still get that, but I felt like because of that comedy aspect he added, he's like shonen it up a little bit. Like
yeah,
he's making it more like palatable for like regular readers to get into it. Because Fire Punch is definitely like I feel like it's a hit or miss. Like some people will read that and just be like, yeah, no.
I feel that same way too, and I do like like you said, the comedy like with Denji is just funny because most shonen you have these goals. Naruto wants to be the Hokage, and Luffy wants to be Pirate King. And then you got Denji, he just wants to feel on woman.
Right.
That's basically it.
That's it.
So,
It's right though.
That's all you're trying to get done, man.
Damn. All the motivation you need sometimes.
yeah, it is.
All
um,
right. Anything else, Jugga?
for I guess real quick, you want to touch on like any favorite manga or anime that you checking out right now?
Um, it was funny. I actually seen something kind of similar in the group about like a favorite, and I kind of, thought to myself like, I kind of got this solid, like maybe a top five series, but I always wonder with some of this newer stuff, will
Mhm.
something like kind of replace it, or how much longer should I read it before it's like, okay, this is good enough to be in my top five? But like currently, well, my top five, I would say now that's kind of solid is like JoJo, obviously, One Piece, Full Metal, and then you have stuff like Gintama, Detective Conan. I mean, Detective Conan, I just kind of love because I love the whole mystery aspect.
Mhm.
You don't really get that with a lot of manga. And
Right.
Hunter x Hunter is, I got a love hate relationship because obviously it goes on hiatus.
Hiatuses.
And you
Oh my
get like
god,
10
bro.
chapters a year.
He coming
So
back.
I
2020.
know. I wish. I really wish because I know I'm really loving where it's at right now. But it's like Jesus. At
Yeah.
some point, I don't even know.
And
I
with the
just read other
work,
stuff.
that's the thing that kind of sucks is like he goes on hiatuses, but he does so much exposition. It's like when he comes back from the hiatus, you almost forgot like where the story left off at. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
he just adds so many layers. You just like, come on, bro, you gotta just speak and finish this off. Like,
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
He could like maybe take some of the exposition, give you at least a good 10 extra chapters for the year or
right?
something. But yeah, some of the newer ones that I read right now are like Goblin Slayer. There's another one in Weekly Shonen Jump. It's called Jujutsu Kaisen,
Yeah, I've
and I
been hearing
really
a lot
like
of.
that one. because I have like a love-hate relationship with Bleach. I love Bleach. It's one of my favorite. That's one of probably the first ones I maybe got into aside from Naruto. But obviously it ended on a sour note. So I'm
Yep.
bittersweet about that. And I
Oh yeah.
always get Bleach vibes when I read Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'm pretty sure that's actually doing popular. So I think that will get animated soon. So, obviously anime people who watch anime be on the lookout for that. And Jujutsu Kaisen Goblin Slayer Beastars is another good one. And then My Hero, that's another one that I think is really good. I do think it has potential to be maybe one of the tops depending on how it finishes. My thing with that is I feel like we see a lot of series kind of crash and burn.
Right.
Sadly, Bleach, Hitman Reborn,
Oh yeah.
Eric, it kind of just went out there. So, I want to give it maybe a little more chance before we kind of see, where My Hero ends up. I do
Mhm.
enjoy it right now,
Mm.
but yeah, them are kind of the newer series I think that I'm enjoying right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we all align on that one. The only one I haven't gotten into yet is the Jujutsu Kaisen thing. People have been telling me about it though, so I'm like, it's on my list to get around to start. I just know you got to get through maybe them first, probably like 5, 10, 15 chapters to be like hooked.
Right.
But
Yeah,
you know, it's about sitting down and adding it to the repertoire, which I got to do.
Mm.
yeah, I gotta do that with so many. There's so many times where I say I'll start something new, but then I just want to go back and reread something old for like no
Yeah.
reason. Like right. I think right now, with the exception of the ongoing stuff that I read weekly, I'm trying to catch up to 20th Century Boys and Diamond of the Ace, which is
Mm,
baseball series.
Yeah.
I've
yeah,
been like off with Baki. I'm still on like the original one, like
yeah.
back '90s one. And I know they got like three different spinoffs,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah,
I read one of the Baki spinoffs. That was the one where he ended up fighting his dad at the end.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, uh, I feel you. I think it's the one that's after whatever they're doing with the anime, the arc that they animated. Whatever one is after spinoff is after that. That's the one I read. But yeah, is 20th century, 21st century boys, is that like a delinquent type
no,
of manga? I
20th
feel like I
Century
heard.
Boy is actually it's kind of like a mystery, and I do want
Mm.
to say like to the author, I can't think of his name right now, but he was also the one that did Monster. So,
Oh, okay, got you, got you.
Mm.
So it's
okay.
gonna be super psychological or whatever.
Yeah, it's basically one of those. It's a psychological, like a thriller, whole mystery, which I do enjoy. And I do gotta say, like for the author, for to kind of just put out series that I think are just kind of good and good, like back to back. I think something like that is amazing. I
Right.
do, give a lot of crap on Yu Yu Hakusho, but I think it
Mhm.
is kind of amazing for to create just two like very popular series.
Yeah.
Back. I think stuff like that is pretty talent. I do tip my hat to those that can do that because you have stuff like Full Metal and Silver Spoons. I know I maybe read like a chapter, but I'm not really interested in that like I was Full Metal. And
Right.
yeah, I definitely 20th Century Boys. If y'all get the chance, check it out.
Hmm. Okay.
Add it
Yeah.
to the list.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna add it tomorrow. Okay. Let's move on to the next segment, the interview story time. So this is something we borrow from like our other podcast episodes. We always do a story time. We bringing that over to like interview side of things. So we always ask the person who we're interviewing to share like a funny story or interesting story or crazy story with the audience. Um, just cause. So hopefully you got one, Patrick. But go on ahead.
I think I got like a couple. I noticed, recently, Michael B. Jordan, he be getting clowned a lot for, his
Yeah.
pronunciation of Naruto, but it's just funny because like looking back when I first got into it, like I would always accentuate them U's whenever I would read like a Naruto character. Like I would literally call Sasuke Sasuke and
Yeah.
like like I was mispronouncing like everything. Kisuke, it was Kasuki and all that. I don't know why I was so heavy on the muse. And then with the stuff like that. And like even now I pronounce like Luffy as Luffy. I don't know, it just sounds better to me. But
Yeah.
whatever. I do think stuff like that is funny because I know we all ain't pronouncing just everything correctly,
Oh, that's
Japanese
fact.
stuff, but I know it's just funny, we give Michael B. Jordan just kind of all this flack for doing that. And then
Yeah. I only give him
this
slack for that coach thing. I don't really like that
oh
coach
yeah.
thing he did. Like I felt like they could have upped the designs a bit better. There was only
Yeah.
like a couple of things I was like, oh, I'd rock that. And then some of those other things I was like, y'all was being lazy with it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Michael
Seemed
B.
kind of
Jordan, if you was
basic.
a real fan, you would have definitely told coach, like, don't put that stupid ass jacket on me, bro. Like, come on.
You get Naruto stuff at Walmart for like
Right.
$8. You
For
pay
real.
90, that's a little bit better.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
But yeah, I mean, I know it's just funny. We give a lot of slack, but I know we just ain't pronouncing everything right. Another thing is this was back when I was still new to everything and
Mhm.
like inexperienced, and I'm kind of mad like with Death Note. I know we can talk about it now, but with L's death,
Mm.
this is like back when I first got into it, like maybe 2-3 episodes in. I like their little theme music back then. I think it was L's theme. I mean, I went to go look that up on YouTube, and like one of the very first comments I seen was, "Oh, L died." I
Uh,
that stuff like I didn't realize how serious these spoilers was. I can't even be mad because obviously Death Note been over for a minute, but I
Right.
ain't trying to go
and
first comment in. Oh, it sucked that L died. Like I said, I was only like 4 episodes in, still new.
Right.
I'm like, man, so this dude really about to die.
and I'm sorry for your loss,
And
bro.
I was like, that like made me get a steel heart. I don't even care about
Yeah.
any spoilers no more if I come across them. 'Cause that I can't top that.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah,
It
that,
really does.
Like, so I feel like you lost so much of like the hype energy you got just going from F to F. Because he's gonna be like, "Oh snap!"
Yeah, it was like, oh, I really like
But he
this
gonna
song,
die.
and then I'm finding out he died. So it's like,
Right.
dang, I don't think I had to like the song that much. I don't even know if it was worth it. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. But
Wow.
yeah, those are my like funny. I don't really have like so many interesting, moments. I do appreciate. I do like when people kind of read some of the stuff I put them on and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, nothing like too interesting. I mean, it is cool being able to converse with other people that like the manga and stuff and everything. But yeah, funny and stuff. I know I make fun of people who watch dubs and subs and all of that. And,
uh-oh.
Oh snap!
make
Wait a
fun
minute. Do we need to touch on this real quick? So wait, so
of
anime preference, sub or dub? What you doing?
Oh my god! If I had my choice, it would be sub. But my thing with that,
Hey.
let's be real, the dub. I know some people be like, "Oh, you don't know what they saying in Japanese." And I'm gonna be honest, the dub sometimes be sounding terrible, and
Oh,
I think that's honestly 9 out of 10. Like you got those classics like Bebop and Death Note, which don't sound bad, and in dub, but like even DBZ, it don't really sound that good in dub. I think we just grew up on
what?
it, so we just got accustomed.
Okay, but
Nah,
wait,
bro,
hold
I
up.
can't
Like,
deal with sub Goku. Like I'm a dub all the way, but I have to give the. I mean, I'm a sub all the way, but I have to give the dub win
yeah,
to DBZ, bro. Because
Mm.
Goku's voice in the sub
yeah, bro.
when he be yelling, I can't. Like I can't deal with it at all.
True.
I'm like, is that a little girl?
I know they be having them little girls that be playing them little sub characters too, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Man, some of them dubs they just don't sound good. Like you can go to JoJo and listen to Dio say just Zawaru though. It just sounds so more
Right.
enthusiastic and exciting than just the world when you listen to it in dub. It just so that's I know some people like it don't sound that different, but I think 9 times out of 10 you can tell that the
Yeah.
dub is just kind of meh.
No, you're
I
right.
feel like the dub still haven't like mastered one. The old man voice. The old man voice is always consistently better to me in sub. and the villains. Like so far, almost every villain voice I've heard in sub has been iconic compared to like their dub version, which half the time I don't even really remember. But
Oh, like the
they all,
dubs, I was just feel they use the same voices like every time. That
yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty sure they use the same with sub, but I guess actually hearing it dub, it just sounds kind of like,
man,
yeah, this voice don't fit this person. Or
yep.
whatever. Like I seen that new trailer for the Demon Slayer sub. It just, oh my god.
Oh, they're
I
dubbing
don't know
Demon Slayer.
how- yeah, they did. They dubbed the first season. I'm like, I don't know how people do it.
Yeah,
Like, you just turn the subtitles on and something.
I'm telling you.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
Like I'm
yeah. My
trying to.
thing, like, hmm,
No, I was just trying to think of like any subs. I mean, any dub series are actually decent. Like mine is DBZ. If I remember right, Bleach dub wasn't horrible, low key. They actually, I think they matched up a couple of decent voices, like Ichigo, Hetsugaya. There was here like a couple of decent dub voices in Bleach, but that was
yeah, I
like
think
the
Bleach
only
is the
two
best.
series.
And like as a Cowboy Bebop, I think that's like an iconic deal. I wouldn't even probably want to listen to that and sub because it do sound good. Dub
Oh
with
yeah,
they spike
actually.
voices and yeah, I think Death Note can kind of go either way.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then just like with the whole take on the whole manga and sub thing, it'd be funny because they talk about you gotta like imagine the fight scenes. I feel like if you read enough, you got like a semblance of a imagination. Some of that stuff shouldn't really even be hard to figure out what's
Hmm.
going on. You should be able to know what's going on in the manga. Obviously people got their preferences, but I mean, it really ain't that difficult to see how this person punched this guy or how this person got kicked. I don't really think you need to see that animated, that foot coming up to kick somebody in the stomach. But like I said, to
I
each his
would
own. And then,
like I'm with you probably minus the sometimes what am I trying to say? The art style of the manga. Like if there were like some chapters where there's like either like shadow figures or it gets like a really dark scene or maybe at nighttime. I just feel like when it's animated, you could just get more information per scene than if you were to just read it. Unless you just got, you're just a master at reading manga, which, obviously a lot of people are. But at least for me personally, I just find like I'm able to catch up on some stuff easier in anime than manga because of that. But that probably
yeah,
the whole thing.
yeah, that's true. And then just, I don't like the whole being behind like months to years and stuff. I kind of
That's
just
that's
like knowing
big
what's
on.
going on week
that's
by week. Like Demons, like I ain't gonna spoil nothing with Demon Slayer, but they like 5 arcs behind.
damn.
5 arcs. All right,
I mean,
y'all
Five.
trying to get
not
me on the
five,
manga
you got
train.
like 3, 4. Like we like it's lit right now in the manga. It's like, oh dang, y'all season over with. I
And I felt like
gotta
it was
wait.
hella slow, fam. Like the first season of Demon Slayer, I was like, this is a real slow build. Like I could have compacted a lot of those episodes into like one. I felt like, but
I think so. Yeah.
Hmm.
And the funny thing about Demon Slayer is I think the anime, whoever I forget the studio that does it, it's like it's beautiful. I ain't gonna lie, it's amazing how it's animated. But I think with the manga, I think it has its own little charm to it that kind of makes you want to just read it because they have some when they do their faces, it's kind of just funny how they make them. And I think
mhm.
you can't really go wrong with either or with Demon Slayer. Another one that I gotta say that I would probably actually prefer the anime to the manga, even though I'm caught up, is Attack on Titan because I feel like when I
Oh
first got
yeah,
into Attack on Titan, I read that first, I dropped it until I actually watched it like
yeah,
on I think it was Netflix, and that actually made me want to get back into it because I feel like I don't know, maybe it's the art style in Attack on Titan that I don't really care for, but I feel like the anime just adds a lot more. It brings that manga to life, in my
yeah.
opinion,
I
that you
think
don't
they
really
better
get
at
with
cutting
them.
it up than like the way we read it in the manga. Because to me, some of the arcs that I thought were kind of dry, like the whole human, the Kenny arc,
Hmm.
niggas really enjoyed in the anime. So I was just like, oh, I guess they like one the animation style, probably like bigged it up and made this cooler. And like some other things with the story. Like I think they have a good way of like the way they chop up these seasons. Because for me, I was like, all right, some of these arcs is boring now. Like right now, where they're at, it's like hella interesting from like a question answering standpoint, like understanding the world finally. But
Yeah.
still, like I'm sure they're gonna make it like 10 times more lit in the anime when they reveal all this information about like the world and all this other shit. Niggas going heads gonna explode.
Yeah, Attack on Titan is something else right now, and but yeah, like the whole Levi versus the Annie fight just in the manga, it don't
Yeah.
match how it is in the anime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey, Attack on Titan is probably that one I would probably say, oh, I would rather watch this animated, but I ain't gonna risk being behind years, so I gotta read it now. I ain't got no choice. Like, it ain't
You
worth
say
it.
they ain't never catch you on
Nope,
spoilers
ain't
ever
never.
again.
Nope. I gotta. Hey, not after that Death Note fiasco. I'm the everything. Ain't gonna get caught slipping no more.
Oh no.
All right. Well, let's move on to the discussion topic for this episode. So we kind of already discussed some other stuff, but I guess to bring it back to JoJo's, who is your favorite Joestar? So just keep in mind, I know the entire JoJo story because I like wikied the parts I haven't read. But as far as like reading, I'm up to like I think part of 5. So I know like a little bit about I'm forgetting what his name is, the blonde haired dude.
Giorno.
But I also don't give a fuck about spoilers. So if you spoil, I really don't care. But
Um, I think, but like my thing with JoJo is because I was thinking about that. I like my characters. I love Joseph. I love Jotaro. Josuke. Like I feel like they all have their, their own little charm to them that I kind of just like. Like Joseph, to me, he's funny, he comical, and I enjoy that. Like he pretty much a shit talker. While I
yeah,
like, Taro, his whole badass, serious demeanor, and
yeah,
then you got like I think Josuke, he's kind of a little mixture of the two. He is a kind-hearted person, and then it's funny like with the fifth one, Vento.
mhm.
I don't even look at Giorno as the main character because I love Bruno that much.
Oh
Um,
damn,
I don't know. It feel like he got he got as much as screen time as Giorno, and obviously he the leader of their little crew,
yeah,
and he protects them and everything. So stuff like that, I do enjoy. Yeah, it's just like weird, just with all the JoJos, I think they all got their own little charm to them. Like even with the series themselves,
yeah,
and that's one thing I kind of applaud Araki on to just kind of make different like a different adventure, kind of every time. And yeah, for the most part, it does tie in, with the seventh and eighth one. They're a alternate universe that's not related to 1 through 6, and it's like you making stuff like this. You kind of, you implementing stuff from the first parts, the second parts, into them parts. I just think, stuff like that is cool. Like I love the whole slice of life part of Diamond is Unbreakable,
yeah.
which I'm sure that's what we named the group after right now.
Mhm.
I like that whole slice of life aspect. I know with so Stardust Crusaders, it's kind of just cool that whole cast of Jotaro, Joseph, Kakyoin, Abdul, and stuff like that, just going to Egypt. I like their whole um, I like that dynamic they have with each other. Uh,
Mhm.
all the JoJos, yeah, to me, is just they got their own little special thing. Like you got stuff like One Piece, which is freaking amazing. Start to finish with the world building and stuff like that. But I have to give Iraqi credit for just kind of creating just different stuff after stuff after stuff, and it's still good. Like
Yeah,
honestly, the eighth one, from a writing standpoint, is kind of probably my favorite because I like the whole mystery, and the writing has definitely improved from obviously the 80s, 90s to now. With the writing, and I'm hoping that he, ends on a strong note. I'm not sure if it's close to ending anytime soon, but
mhm.
yeah, just from a writing standpoint, I'm definitely enjoying this most recent part 8, Jolian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I totally like agree that every Joestar is different, but just to chime in, I will have to give my least favorite to Jotaro. I think only because I felt like I didn't get much on his character, and then I felt like it was kind of cheap with the time stop thing at the end with Dio.
Yeah, that's my
So
thing. It's like it's a bizarre adventure, so you gotta just take.
right,
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do agree with Jotaro. He kind of just that stern person. He a little too serious. Is just
yeah,
oh, I'm just this badass person and da 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 da. So
yeah,
I mean, I can kind of see where you come from, but I know a lot of people like that. And obviously, I
oh, yeah.
enjoy his little drip with the the belts and the chains, the
No,
little
I
hats he
feel
got,
he
stuff like
definitely
that.
glowed up in Diamond is Unbreakable with his fit, bro. That
Oh,
white
Uh-huh.
shirt.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
wait till you get the Stone Ocean. That's the one after five, the fifth
Yeah,
one. And then let me see. If I did have to pick a least favorite, it's nothing against Jonathan. He was the most gentlemanly and noble, but I didn't really care for Jonathan that much.
yeah,
But like I said, he was a sweet boy. He was noble and admirable. He started off the whole Joestar bloodline and everything. But yeah, he would probably be like I guess my least favorite. And I think Phantom Blood is probably is my least favorite just because it's just basically vampires and stuff
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. But I
Pretty
feel
much.
like, and I mean it's kind of the same with part two too. But Joseph, he's such
No,
a I
part
think good
Joseph
character.
turned up part two, bro. Joseph,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joseph,
like
like
even
to me, Joseph is one of my favorites. One because of that like finishing line thing, like where he
oh
would
yeah,
just like finish, be like, "You're gonna say this next." Like that was OP as fuck. I was like, if
Yeah.
anybody ever does that to you, bro, it's over with.
Like,
Just
yeah,
walk, just go home.
yeah. And then same with just his whole cunning. He the definition of street smart. Like when he was
right.
messing with Strizo, he just pulled out a whole Tommy gun on him and just
Yeah,
lit him up, magged on him. Stuff like that. I was
right.
enjoying. You didn't really get. I don't think you really got that in the first part.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, Joseph, I think he does carry that whole thing. Even with the whole cars thing. Like I know we talk about ass pulls and plot holes with
mhm,
how he defeated cars and stuff like that, but I feel like
yeah.
with that, the way JoJo is as a series, I feel like it just fit perfectly.
I
Like he
feel you.
won,
I agree
he
with
won literally by luck. You
yeah.
know, we talk about some series that they ain't got to be mentioned like Fairy Tail when it come to ass pulls and
Oh no.
stuff. But yeah, that was like an ass pull done right, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a tie between Joseph and Josuke for like my favorite Joestar. I just like Josuke's whole like swag, and I just like you
Yeah,
said, the slice of life thing was so funny, and I liked his relationship with the door homie, the dude who would just like make portals or whatever. I forget his name.
yeah,
Um,
that was I
but
can't pronounce. Okuyasu or something like
yeah,
that.
Oh
yep.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I thought that whole storyline was hilarious and like interesting, especially like when they would make fun of his hair, like how he beat Rohan off just some like, oh, you just should have never talked about this nigga's hair. Like you would have won, but you had to talk about this nigga hair, and now it's a wrap. Like that shit made me laugh.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts in that one it was when that little alien or whatever came. He was playing dice
Oh no.
and his
Yeah,
house ended up catching on fire and stuff. That was
Yeah.
just fun. Like that was just hilarious. I was gonna say just another thing about like JoJo. I love how creative it is. How basically all the Joestars are with they stands and Ripple and all that.
Yeah.
I think I think a lot of people put that the whole series down, but it's honestly I think it's one of the more creative series that I've seen in
hundred
regards to
percent.
like fighting and battles and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, they
Yeah.
definitely switch it up there, and then I felt like that's another reason why I started liking Josuke and like the stuff after is because like Josuke, I think Giorno and I think Jolene, from what I've read, like all of their stands, and probably even going forward, but all of their stands are just so like it shouldn't allow them to beat people, but
Right.
they find a way to all the time. Like Josuke's thing is literally like the more he punches, the more he heals. He finds a way to beat niggas with that. Like Giorno finds a way to beat people with his, and it's just like the creative ways they use their powers it just makes me put more respect on the author's name because I'm just like, you had to think of this way for all of these fights. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't even be able to come up with this. I just gotta put respect on your name for that. So
true.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's like maybe slightly better than like Hunter x Hunter, like with the whole Nin thing in terms of creativity with their fights. But yeah, it's definitely one of the more creative stuff I done read. Like even this last, the most current part is like it's crazy with how they do the fight. So if you get a chance to hurry up and read and catch up, I would definitely try to get to that.
yeah, it's on my list.
I know we be having a lot of lists. Like I feel like,
So,
dang, am I really gonna be able to read all these series?
I swear.
this work just got to give me like some time. If they gave me like, hey, bro, we'll give you a year off, just catch up on all the manga you need to.
Bruh,
I'll be straight.
That'd be
telling you.
amazing, man. I feel like there's just so much. Like, dang,
For
am I
real.
really gonna be able to finish all this on my plate?
Right.
And that's the thing that sucks because, like, especially if you find an interest in a subgenre, like another subgenre I found an interest in is like the Delinquent series. For some reason, I just really like those. So I read like Crows and all this other stuff, and then they like have their own little stories in there. But then you find out that there's other stuff in this genre that are also good to read. It's just like, damn, bro, I didn't even get through the shonen stuff yet. Now I got this
Yeah,
whole sub series I want to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I actually think Crow is on my list. So I think I got it added to my favorites. I just haven't checked it out.
Oh, yeah,
But,
definitely. If you're a fan of Delinquent manga, Crows is definitely like a nice end for that.
oh, yeah, definitely got to check because there is this one. I don't know if y'all heard of the series called it's called Out.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I think I might have read a couple of chapters, but I don't know if I'm current or if
Yeah,
I
that's
finished it.
another like delinquent one. I'm checking out, but yeah, I'm definitely want to add Crow to the list. Out is I think it's good. I think it has kind of a realistic take on just like with fighting and living as a delinquent and stuff like that. Dude,
Okay.
basically, he was a delinquent. He was out of juvie. He tries to stay out of juvie, but he keep getting dragged in some gang stuff. But yep, that's definitely a good one. I actually got to check and see if a new chapter came out.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot to add to the list from this interview. So,
Yeah, I'm telling you. Like the list keeps on getting bigger, but barely gets decreased.
all right. Well, oh, did you want to share, Jugga, who your favorites were?
For Joestar, no, I mean you pretty much because my favorite was actually Joseph, and for the exact reasons that you mentioned, like that last, like him just saying, "Oh, so now you're about to say blah 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 blah," and he literally said blah 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 right after hearing him say it. It's just like, damn, son, like he got you that hard on lock. I mean, like I literally just laugh and just get ready for like the sickness, and like in a way you could also kind of say that like they pretty much use his like witty creativity and like for all the future parts of like the JoJo series is pretty much using like Joseph's creativity via stand form. So it's like all like the different ways and like all like the different techniques or like the thoughts that he had into a fight. All they pretty much did is make it like more supernatural with the stand. So he's in my head, he's kind of like the kicks. So yeah, no, I think Joseph's pretty dope.
All right. Cool. So on to the last segment. Game time. So we got two games. We'll see how fast we run through these if we do both or one. But we'll start with the first one. So it's kind of like a discussion topic, but I guess who do you think could outstrat the Joestars? Um, we said we're gonna take a list of epic anime combat pragmatists and kind of like bring them up. I didn't take the time to think of this list, so I'm gonna just wing it and see who comes to mind.
You did say
But I
outsmart him, right?
guess you said what?
Outsmart him.
Yeah. So if we took like I don't know, you can pick whatever Joestar that you think will probably beat them in the match, but I'm trying to think of some good ones. One will probably be somebody from Hunter x Hunter. Um one that we might have had seen before. I would either put like Hisoka or Crollo Lucifer in the matchup
True.
and see if you think
Actually,
anybody could get those guys as far as strats go.
um, Well, I know what Hisoka. I think he's obviously smart, and he a character that definitely he makes the best use of his ability. I but I think my thing with him is I think he gets a little too overconfident at times, which I think that would be his downfall. I would say probably against. I think the majority of the Joestars, because I think at the end of the day, I think they tend to be calm and collected and end up defeating their opponents that way.
Yeah.
Crollo is definitely one that can maybe I would see doing a better chance because he's not as overconfident and cocky as them. So I think with how skilled he is, especially with the way his nin works, he has to kind of be familiar with a whole bunch of different stuff. So,
True.
he's obviously smart and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it would be kind of interesting to kind of see how he would do maybe against them. I would say maybe somebody like Jolene or like Jonathan due to his he naive his little ways, I think. But with all the other, Joe stars like kind of like we discussed earlier, I just kind of feel like they not
They ready
the
for him.
smartest people, but at the same time, they creative with how they fight. So
Right.
I don't know, maybe even like with Joseph, I think Crollo may get the better of him, but then Joseph might pull some luck out of his ass and end up right or whatever. Um, do you have any like other characters?
Joe, you want to toss any out there?
Uh,
If we're talking strategists, I feel like we gotta bust out at least like a couple members from the Nara family. So what about like Shikaku or Shikamaru?
I do think oh yeah, Shikamaru would actually be a good one.
Yeah.
Shikamaru, I think, with his whole little IQ, even somebody like Kakashi, I do think them two they probably one of the top at least. I would say at least five. Same
Mhm.
with Minato. I would think they would probably be actually maybe good and maybe outsmarting them. We've seen Shikamaru do it with against Kakuzu and Hidan.
Hmm.
And we've seen Kakashi use his intelligence in fights before. And he a smart person in general. And who's another smart person from the series? Uh,
Hmm.
I can't really think of like. I mean, obviously Shikamaru's dad probably I would say do the same thing. But I'm trying to think. Are there really any other like super smart characters like that? Naruto.
Oh no,
Uh,
finessers. I would.
Obviously,
I
you
mean,
I,
got.
you
I
could
mean, you
argue,
got
yeah.
Itachi.
Itachi and Sasuke a little bit.
That's true. Yeah,
Low
you
key.
got Itachi. But Itachi, I don't know if if y'all in debate like that. Itachi, he in the world of his own, league of his own when it comes to debates and how smart and good Itachi is.
Right.
He uh, he might be like the number one character that you might hate due to fans. Oh my god, like I like the dude, but then it's like you just see like people get upset because it's like, oh, you don't got him as the top fifth strongest character in the series.
Right.
It's like, come on, that's
Wow.
not even a bad thing. To be sick and still be ranked that high, I mean,
Yeah.
you get more than enough props.
Right.
For real.
But yeah, I think smart wise, he might be able to end up actually he could outsmart, I would say, maybe the majority of the Joestars, but then Jotaro, with the way his whole time thing works, he gonna be like, oh, Star Platinum has a Sharingan, and boom, he got MS and stuff like that. He'll just pull a Sharingan and all that
Yeah.
out of his ass. Another like a smart character who he's a strategist. I would say I think Senku. If y'all familiar with
I,
Doctor Stone or read it,
Hmm. Okay.
yeah, Senku to me, he's probably I think one of the smartest, I think, anime characters because if you read or watch the series, you can kind of see his thought process when he invents and creates stuff, and it's like it's freaking it blew my mind. Like I feel like I learned more reading that than I did like in school and stuff. It'd
I'm
be
right.
telling you.
that it'd be really in depth with how he does stuff.
True.
But obviously, he's not a fighter. He admits this. He can't
Right.
fight. But Yeah, smart wise, I think it would be interesting kind of seeing him see a stand and maybe seeing how it works and all of that. Because I mean, if you sit up here trying to bring back civilization, I think you might be able to figure out how a stand works.
Yeah, I feel you. That's a valid point there.
No, I can see
No,
that. I mean,
I,
the plethora of knowledge he got is pretty much like insane, like literally. I mean, this kid's like a bona fide genius, straight up, like period.
Right.
Crazy. Low key, do you watch? Well, I mean, we haven't really been giving him a lot of respect recently, but you read or watch Promise Neverland?
yeah, I actually do. Yeah.
All right. So, what about homie Norman? If he was actually a
No,
fighter?
No, bro.
I think yeah, I think from what I'll be reading, I think he's a smart dude, but I think he's not as I don't think he's as smart as he thinks, honestly. But
100%. 10 out of 10
I
Joestars dropping Norman. That's how I feel right now.
yeah, I
Uh,
think like I said, Norman, he definitely I think he is. I mean, he might be one of those too smart for his own good. I don't know, if we can, spoil anything, but there are some aspects like of his plan I don't think he really took account of, and I
Oh,
think
so many.
you can kind of see that. But yeah, I said Norman, he's smart. He a nice little. He can make plans and stuff like that, but I don't think he don't think he takes everything into consideration. So,
hmm. All right.
so
Let's see. Oh, right. You mentioned Death Note. What about Light or L?
I think well, my thing with like Light is, I mean, yeah, Light. I feel like with Light, he's more so he was smart, but he kind of one of those Eisen type where he's kind of relying on his ability. Like I ain't knocking him saying he's not smart, but when you got something where you can just write somebody's name in and they die in 40 seconds, I feel like you tend to be a little more confident than what you really is. Like the whole thing with L and Light was L kind of knew off the top. L was kind of one upping him, but there was really no just proof. I
Yeah.
mean, when you sit up here going against like a supernatural being like Ryuk, you can only I feel like as a human you can only do so much.
Right.
And when I got a book and Shinigami in his back corner and a crazy obsessed fan and Misa, you can take a little more risk. Which, like I said, I think we've all seen Death Note. You kind of came back to bite him in the ass at the end. So I feel like yes, he one of those that's kind of a little more. He try to bite off more than he can chew.
Man, so 10 out of 10 Joestars dropping now. I mean, like,
You might have that occasional, maybe I would say at least maybe 7 or 8 out of 10. I would give it to the Joestars.
gotcha.
Oh,
All
low
right.
key. Let me drop one more character. This is so random as fuck. I just thought about it, considering like the whole stand thing. But let's say Yugi Moto had Dark Magician as a stand. What about that?
That would actually, yeah, that would be interesting. Shoot, Dark Magician. He might be able to at least give me what I would say maybe six out of. I think 6 out of 10.
Low key, right?
Jonathan gone, right? I'm assuming Jonathan first off that list. He taking the
Yeah,
L.
yeah. I mean, most of these lists, Jonathan gonna be that first to go. Not saying he's bad, but I think that naiveness of him gonna get him got.
Yeah.
Well, as I mean, that did. I mean, it actually did get him got in his own series. So yeah.
Snap. Okay.
All right. Well, what's up?
I was gonna say I did. I don't know where it was kind of fit. I did have a question because I know both of y'all read manga, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a question like regarding that. I mean, if we can kind of fit that in
Yeah, go ahead.
now. Okay, so do you guys use like the weekly Shonen Jump app or Manga Plus?
I don't.
I
I was
personally
gonna get
don't either.
around to using it, but no, I don't.
Well,
Yeah, I
okay,
mostly
well,
just use
anyway,
Kiss Manga to read.
okay, so well, I guess that kind of bringing me into my point. How with this whole thing with pirating, like I guess pirating reading series for free. I
Yeah.
mean, how would you kind of feel about if they made like some kind of a Netflix type of thing where you
Mhm.
just pay like a little subscription and you could probably read like official stuff like that,
Yeah.
or
I'm
are you just kind of content doing like the whole just the free thing pirating?
For me, I'm not against paying for it. Like, when it came to Shonen Jump, I know they had like I don't know if it's still going on, but at some point they had like $1
It's
subscription or
$2.
something like that. You said what?
It's $2 a month.
Oh yeah, $2 a month. Yeah, so it's still on my list to get around to paying for it. I just haven't got around to paying for it. That's
See,
literally it. Like I
yeah,
wouldn't mind supporting the creators. What's up?
I was gonna say because like my thing is like say with Goblin Slayer, now that's on Comixology, but you know
Yeah,
you gotta pay a subscription for that, but then you
right.
have to pay $2 for a chapter.
Oh, whoa, yeah,
Oh
no, that's
wow,
So,
a
really?
little bit different for
so,
me. I would
yeah,
prefer
so
the Netflix way where I just pay that subscription and I get all that I want. That's the only thing that sucks is that, like you're saying, some of the ones I like to read, especially if you're like more of a like connoisseur, I guess, like we are, the like not everything you read is on like weekly Shonen Jump.
yeah,
So you want to have like access. I want to be able to like go into the like weeds. I'm talking about like read some old shit that like maybe never hit Shonen Jump, but like niggas was saying was lit and got like canceled after like 5 chapters. Like I'm trying to get that too. So I need that on like the Netflix service as well. Like I don't mind the Shonen Jump fee because I'm like, oh, that's cheap and it carries like a good chunk of the manga I read. But as far as like digging into like new stuff, right now the free option is like the best option for me because the most of these sites post like all of those weird ones, you know. It's rare to find some that you can't like find on one of those.
yeah,
Right.
and that's true. And it's like with like all these companies. I mean, like, would you say it's like kind of even worth so like getting all these volumes and stuff like that? Like, I don't know if y'all maybe go back and reread stuff, but I'm the kind of guy I might read something maybe once or twice. Like, I don't really go back and reread
Well,
whole stories like that. So I'm just, do you think it'd be worth to maybe like if you did do the Goblin Slayer the thing and they got 30 chapters, you spending basically $60
Right.
just for
right.
Goblin Slayer, one series. And obviously, if we read a lot, then
Yeah,
how
that's a lot
much
of money.
more
Isn't it?
you really gonna be paying monthly? I wish there was like I said, I don't know how Japan does things, but I do wish there was kind of a way to I don't know, you can kind of just get everything at once without having to go here, having to
Yeah.
go there, and just all of that.
Well, my hope
Uh,
is like shows like things like Funimation and Crunchyroll maybe are like on the cusp of that because I mean like anime is becoming more popular in the states, and I felt like because of that, like peripherally or whatever, like manga is about to start getting more popular. Because to me, what pushed me into the manga thing was like kind of what you said. Like I found out that there was like more to the story, and I couldn't wait. So I was just like, oh, I'm about to start reading the manga. So once these some of these newer anime folks go like, oh wait, like I could just finish all this Demon Slayer in like a week. Like my summers were spent like catching up on, anime and manga in high school.
right,
So it's like if these bigger companies like learn to capitalize that, or hopefully someone else figures out how they can like make the money work for that, like they definitely got a business. Because I don't think a lot of the minus the ones that are like not adults like us, I guess, like some of the people who might still be like in their younger years, like
mm,
those people probably don't really want to pay because paying me is like asking your parents to pay for this thing. But
right,
like for me, who's still reading, got a full time job, like sure, I throw like $5-10 a month on a manga service that like gives me everything that I read. Like
right.
I wouldn't mind supporting that at all. But
Agreed. I'm pretty much like in the same boat. I just wouldn't want like the thing that I wouldn't want is pretty much what y'all already touched on. Is if like manga somehow like the actual servicer or service providers get separated into like certain clumps or groups. That I just don't really feel, and that's what I've always liked about manga and anime. That I literally just have like two sites that I can get as much as I need. Now, if it like they kept that kind of site going, but then just started charging a monthly fee that was reasonable, that's fine. Like I literally have no problem at all with that.
Yeah. But then I think with some of them sites though, it's obviously it's not going towards the creators. It's kind of going to their own site. Like Kiss Manga and all of that. And that was the thing with Manga Rock. If y'all use that, they did. I think it gets to a point where they just kind of get greedy. You know, they ain't really worried about paying whoever writes, One Piece and all of that. I do think Manga Plus. Now that one's actually free, and I do like with the way they do it is they'll they'll show you the first 3 chapters and the latest 3 chapters, and then after every chapters um they'll remove the earliest one, so you can pretty much only read 3 chapters at a time. The first three,
Gotcha.
see if you want to get into it, and the most current 3. Now I do think something like that. I don't necessarily mind because, like I said, I don't really go back and reread chapters like that. But like I said, I do like that we're kind of seeing. I think some progress. Same with I think Crunchyroll and Webtoons. I think they did a collab too. Now that I'm thinking, and some of those webtoons are actually going to be getting animated. Like I think God of High School and some other ones. But I do like seeing the progress that we're kind of seeing with this growth of getting manga and all that access to it.
All right.
It's a good time to be a black nerd.
Oh, 100%.
Without a
Definitely, the world's changing for us now. Before
Yeah.
it's kind of like we was in the shadows, but
Right.
I definitely feel like it's the next wave of like content because I think this comic book stuff is starting to die down a bit. I just think we need a hit when it comes to like anime in the mainstream. Like if we get that, then that shit is about to parachute. But for right now, we've been like as far as movies go, they've all been pretty mad or like okay for like the community, meaning like we wanted to see it, but I don't think it brought people outside of the community the way like for example the Avengers movies or like the Iron Man movies brought people from like outside the culture to like, oh, what's this? Like, oh, I'm interested now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the black nerd stuff, honestly, did y'all see Can Busters? And if y'all did, what did y'all think of it?
Um, I
For
didn't finish it.
the
You said what?
is there any reason for that?
No, I just dropped off. Like I have to
Yeah.
get back to it. I just been that's how I am. Like I'll start a couple episodes. If it's not like if I don't fiend for it in the first 2 episodes, I might drop it and then just come back to it later. But from like the first episode I saw is definitely interesting. It just wasn't like it didn't catch me on a story vibe. It caught me on like if you ever watched Space Dandy, it caught me on that type of vibe, like a funny, doesn't take itself too seriously, like just enjoy the ride type of show. And for me, I like when I watched it, I wasn't in the mood for that type of show. I was like looking for a storyline, so that's why I dropped it. But when I get back into like, oh, I just feel like watching something random and goofy, that's when I'll like finish it probably.
No, I personally haven't checked it out yet myself. But if it's anything like Space Dandy, I'll probably be treating it the same way. I gave Space Dandy a chance, but I just couldn't get into that.
So it seems like we ain't really feeling Cannon Busters for the coach.
I've
Like I
heard
said,
that hit and miss on it, but people came more
I'll
at
turn
the
it on for background noise. And my
yeah.
man, he get his little money from that. But I feel like my thing with that was I feel like it tried to do too much. Like I got, like you said, you got Space Dandy vibes. I got
Yeah.
like Bebop vibes, Trigun and Shampoo, like just all of this and just one. I felt like it was doing too much. Like I didn't really care for the story itself.
Was it the same dude that made that Neo Yoko show?
No.
Oh, it was different this time. All right.
Shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a different one. But I don't even know if that's supposed to be coming back. Cannon Busters.
Yeah, we'll see. I've heard people enjoy it. So like I've heard people come back and say like they liked it, but I also have heard it definitely was like down the middle from what I've heard as far as like people who watched the show. It was some people was like, all right, man, and then some people was like really enjoyed it. To me, I was more like on the mass side, but I'm a finisher for the culture kind of thing.
So some people, I don't know. Some people like fairy tales. I don't know. That's a some people really like.
That I don't get, but I felt like it's the same thing with like the anime watchers. It's like same thing with Bleach. Like there's some people who still ride hard for Bleach, and then I like ask more questions, and I find out it's just because they like stopped at the anime, so they
Oh
didn't
yeah,
really get like the disappointment of the last arc. Really, they stopped at the full bean arc, which I still think was disappointing, but I
True.
guess it wasn't like disappointing enough for people to call it trash.
Mm.
But to me, I'm like, if you finish that Quincy arc and you still say Bleach is like was good, like that was a good ending. I don't. And Bleach is one of
yeah.
my favorites. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can, man, because like I said, I got a love hate relationship with Bleach because it's like I can talk about Bleach for like just like 10 minutes, like, and what sucks about Bleach is I feel like the light novels they kind of answered a lot of questions that we had,
Yeah.
so it kind of sucks that you had to wait till everyone kind of dismissed it and thought less of it before you kind of came back answered all these questions, like with the whole Quincy arc. My thing was I feel like way it got way too much. Like you introduced way too many
Yeah.
people. We didn't need all this A through Z stuff. All of these like characters just kind of fighting, dying, getting back up, fighting.
Yeah.
So you could have used that for some type of development. We could have seen more Bankais and stuff like that. I just feel like a lot of those characters were wasted.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was
I
really
felt like
kind
his
of my
problem was he
biggest.
was like I felt like he realized like at the end like oh shit I didn't show everybody's Bankai yet, and then he just like did a mad dash to like do
Yeah.
it, but like they started not making sense after a while. Like freaking whatchamacallit Bankai, like um the chick from the healing squad,
Oh yeah,
that was the original Kenpachi. Like her Bankai, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like Shushu's Bankai, like also was like, okay, what the fuck is this? Like it was just a lot of like, I mean, thanks for giving it to me, but at the same time, like, what the fuck? Like, what is that?
yeah, no, I feel that. Like, I feel like when the Bankais was like first introduced, it had its little special pizzazz to it. Like, it was
Right.
interesting. Kamamura, he had this big old armored statue fighting for him, and it felt like it fit. But then that whole the the niche and stuff of it kind of just died off. Like
Yeah.
later on, as the series went on.
Yeah.
And that whole like whatever happens to the statue happens to him. I'm like, bro, how are you even a captain with that type of weakness, bro?
I'm not,
That's definitely like a lieutenant level weakness. You can't
not
be walking
think
around.
about it. That's damn near Stan shit. Shit. That ain't nothing but no JoJo reference right there. But yeah, like it had its own little thing. That's what I loved about it. Like arc wise, like rereading arcs, like the whole Soul Society and Rescue Rakia. That's like
Yeah.
one of my favorite ones because
Yeah.
I feel like just so much happened. We saw a whole bunch of new stuff, the
Yeah.
characters and all of that. Like maybe that made me fall in love with the series. Like I love One Piece is better written, obviously, but I think when it comes to like favorite, I kind of adore Bleach more than One Piece
Yeah.
just
No,
because of
I
stuff
agree.
like that.
Bleach was my favorite of Big Three, but what I like now though is that these new Big Three, like My Hero, Black Clover, like they're learning from the mistakes of those other three. Like My Hero definitely like learned that oh I need to build these side characters, like because
Yep.
that was what I felt was Naruto's biggest flaw. Was like it was good because of the tuning exams, and you were like oh damn here's
Yeah,
all these other characters, and then it just like fell flat after because he stopped touching on them. And like My Hero's like, no, we never gonna stop like talking about these side characters.
yeah,
They make sure to keep that alive. And then Black Clover
it,
does the same thing with like the Magic Knight captains and the like different worlds and stuff. It like learned from Bleach and the fact that like when you start introducing all these other races, like make sure you don't just like let the main character just drop them in 1 second and then we forget about them because they're still important. So
yeah. And
like
my thing with Naruto, I feel like you had all these interesting characters, but then it turned into the Naruto and Sharingan show.
yep.
Yep.
That's what I hated. Like, you had so
That's
much you could have
exactly
just
right.
expanded on, but then you give like I remember when the Sharingan was like, oh, you can copy some jutsu, you can kind of perceive movement, but then it's you can summon a samurai, you can summon black flames, you can die and not really die and stuff like that. You can make
Right.
people think about their life, like
Yeah.
really, and then you got the Byakugan, which got like 360 vision. Like well, I mean, which one you really want?
Right. And at one point, it was like the Byakugan was like at that hype level over the Sharingan. It was like, oh, technically
Exactly.
the Sharingan came from this. So he was like, oh,
Exactly.
they were on the same level at one point, and then boom, all this bullshit from the Sharingan. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm like kind of disappointed with Boruto. Cause like they
Oh, yeah.
gave Buddy the Byakugan, but then like the Kishimoto decided to go this whole like technology route. When I'm just like, no, this is your time to like put respect on all these Kekkei Genkais that you decided to hold because you wanted to like fuck with Sasuke and all this other. You needed to make Sasuke strong enough to fight Naruto. I'm like, oh, now you could build on why the Byakugan is still like a cold ass thing to have, or
True.
why like all of these other Kekkei Genkais are like important. But
Yeah,
he
you
was like,
had
no,
so
the
much
technology.
interesting stuff
Yeah.
that you could have built it up on, but nope.
Like,
And
like clear proof of that is my boy Shino. Like I'm so salty about Naruto for a lot of reasons, but like Shino being the character who he is now in Boruto pisses me off to such a high degree. It's not even funny. Like, oh my god, this kid should be Ambu Black Op leader.
he should.
Like, like something on that level. But they made him just some regular punk teacher, like Aruka. I mean, like what?
Yeah, I know.
Shino?
Yeah,
Such a
him
waste
dirty.
of potential.
Serious? Oh my
Him
god.
dirty. Another thing that kind of I didn't really care for with Naruto. I didn't really like that the villains was kind of just under the other. I would have preferred villains that kind of had their own goals, but it was like you had Pain, who was being manipulated by Toby, who was being
Right.
manipulated by Madara, who was being manipulated by Kaguya. It's like, oh my god, it's like it'd be nice if these had their own little motivations. Like, I mean, Zabuza, he was kind of a villain, but he was doing his own thing and stuff like that. It was enjoyable to see. Then you got then all these people who are basically just underlings of the next.
Yep.
No, I feel you. That whole Indra and Ashra shit, I felt like pulled the rug under like that was like the last straw kind of. I was just like, all right, so all this shit was like legacy lineage shit. Like that kind of makes the story real dry now. I felt like none of the decisions or anything they made was really of value. It was all like kind of predetermined, and then I just go like, all right, well, fuck this.
Yeah.
I know, and I guess Neji was right when they fought that fate.
I tell you,
It
you can't
actually
get out of
really
the
be
fake
happening.
shit.
And Naruto ain't know what the hell he was talking about. That's all it was.
He seen it with the Byakugan.
Telling you.
And I was gonna say, I know like the thing, speaking of the big three, whatever people want to argue, it's Bleach, Naruto, One Piece. I do kind of enjoy that. It's kind of, I think in a way it's kind of getting away from that because I feel like we got so many different genres now and different characters. Like my thing with I think Naruto, Ichigo, and Luffy, they kind of similar. They teenage protagonists, dudes. They meet people on their journey and stuff like that. And then you got stuff like The Promised Neverland. Then you got stuff like I said, Black Clover. Those are, I think, two completely different series.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's cool. We kind of seeing stuff branch off into different genres for people to enjoy. Like if you don't like Attack on Titan, but you might like One Punch Man. It's
Yep.
just you got just a whole bunch, I think, of different stuff that is cool to see as a fan. Just seeing the genre grow, where it's not basically you just have this regular teenage protagonist out kicking ass and stuff, which I mean I still enjoy, but it is refreshing to see different stuff.
Right.
True.
No, I totally agree with that.
True.
But yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast. I guess we'll close it out here. If you want to let the audience know one more time where they could find you, talk a little bit more about your book, let them know where they can get that. You can go ahead and do that now.
All right, yeah. Make sure you could check out my book, So Called Heroes. Just the first book on Amazon KDP for $3. And hopefully we expand it more in the future. But yep, catch it on Amazon KDP. And for all the fellow blurs, if you want to follow me on, Facebook. You can always join Just Some Black Nerds, Just Some Black Manga Readers, where we can always discuss and, talk about anime, manga, and anything blurred related.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well, thanks
Good
again,
stuff.
Patrick, for being on.
No
Hopefully
problem.
we have you on again in the future for some more Naruto and Bleach discussions, man. Because I definitely think we could have had a whole nother episode just on that.
Yeah,
True.
we can talk about the big
True.
three for like hours.
Right.
Hopefully my book done like blew up. We come back when I'm bougie, shit like that. Stuff like when
Hopefully
I'm
we'll
pulling
be
up.
on that too. Hopefully our
Yeah,
podcast done blown up too by then.
yeah,
So
yeah.
What's
I'll
up?
be showing some support and love.
yeah, man. No
That's
problem.
what's
Thank
up.
you for coming on, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
been a pleasure.
No problem. No problem, y'all.
All right.
You
Peace.
have a nice one, man.
All right, take care.